Hello, Cobb Science. Today I want to tell you about one of my favorite places in the entire world. It's called Jekyll Island, and it's a small island off the coast of the south of Georgia. Today we're going to have a chance to talk to someone that works there at the Tidelands Nature Center, and her name is Corinne. She's an excellent science resource, and we're going to ask her some questions.
Hey Cobb County, we're here at the 4-H Tidelands Nature Center on Jekyll Island. My name's Corinne Zeely. I'm a program specialist with Georgia 4-H Environmental Education. We'd love to answer some questions for you today.
Corinne, what types of plants and animals can be seen in the coastal region of Georgia around the Tidelands Nature Center?
Here's some of our local wildlife now, green anole. So we do have some really neat animals and plants in the coastal region. And a lot of them you can see from our wildlife viewing platform here that live in the pond. So while anoles will be running around on land, we do have several birds that will hang out around the pond. There's an osprey nesting platform up on the northern end of the pond. They're just starting to nest. We've got our wading birds and egret flying on the other side. We have a lot of wading birds that'll spend time around the pond. We'll often see striped mullet jumping up out of the water, a type of fish. Then in the water, we often see blue crabs, which is a really favorite food for a lot of animals. And that's just in this salt pond right next to Tidelands. And we see a lot of the plants around here as well. All along the edge here, we have wax myrtle. This wax myrtle is pretty neat. It's very aromatic if you break it up and smell it. Can be a natural insect repellent in ways. Just a little bit further here, we have some of our really tall cabbage palms. And next to it here is our live oak, which is actually the state tree of Georgia. Looks a little brown, it is just starting to drop its leaves.
Thank you for that answer, that's well thought out. Now, I've got another question for you. How do the adaptations that we find in plants and animals on the coastal region help them to survive?
Excellent question. So a lot of our plants do have some really unique adaptations. One that we have pretty commonly in the coastal region is this sawtooth palmetto or saw palmetto. And this plant is actually really well adapted to surviving fires. While the leaves that we see on top of the ground may burn pretty quickly, the trunks are actually underground and therefore will survive a fire. And these leaves are actually one of the first plants to start growing back after a fire. And then another plant that we have out here that's really neat is our resurrection fern. Resurrection fern looks really green right now because it just rained yesterday, but this plant can lose up to 97% of its water and still come back and look bright and green after just a simple rain, while most other plants can only lose 10% of their water. So we're inside the Nature Center now to tell you about some of the adaptations our marine animals have to living in this coastal region. One really neat animal we have here is our Atlantic stingray. Stingrays, like sharks, have a really neat adaptation to finding food. You can see he likes to swim right on the bottom, and underneath him he actually has these small little sensors called the ampullae of Lorenzini, which actually can detect movement in the sand and help him find food. We have a few other animals in here with some neat adaptations. One is our fringed flounder. Can you find it? Let me give you a hand here. Flounders are flat fish that will stay still and bury themselves in the sand and wait to ambush prey as it swims overhead. And another animal, fish, that we have here uses its camouflage really well to blend into rocks and oyster beds. This is the oyster toadfish. So camouflage is a big one for marine animals, being able to blend into their surroundings.
I have another question for you. What types of food do the animals at the Tidelands Nature Center eat, and how do you care for them?
So our animals like to eat a lot of different things, but one of our favorites for marine animals is shrimp. Shrimp we kind of consider the popcorn of the ocean. So I have some shrimp pieces cut up here that we're going to feed to a few of our animals. We're going to start off with our horseshoe crab. So our horseshoe crab is really neat. He's considered a living fossil, and his mouth is actually on the bottom. So I'll try to show you what he looks like here. These guys are really cool, and his mouth is actually this fuzzy spot right in the middle here. So we're gonna give him a couple pieces of shrimp. Normally, these guys are crawling around on the bottom, and they are scavengers. So they will find little pieces of food that are already dead and kind of eat the scraps. And these critters, although they look a little strange, they're actually pretty harmless to humans. We'll give them one more piece here. And we'll set them back in the water. Although these animals do have gills, so they need to breathe underwater, they can actually be outside of water for up to 24 hours. We'll show you how the stingray eats too. This guy is a pretty excited eater. So his mouth is on the bottom. And he can eat pieces of fish as well. But shrimp is one of his favorites. So here's another really neat animal we have here at the Tidelands Nature Center, a sea anemone. This is a tricolor or hermit crab sea anemone. And we're going to show you how he eats in just a second.
You have a lot of different plants and animals down at Jekyll Island, like the saw palmetto. So could something like that survive here in Cobb County?
That's a really good question. A lot of the plants and animals that we have here in the coastal region actually would not survive up in the Appalachian Plateau. And it's for a couple of reasons. One of the big ones is temperature. It gets a little too chilly up in the Appalachian Plateau in the winter months for a lot of the plants and animals that are adapted to the more moderate climate down here on the coast. Another big one for plants is the type of soil. Here on the barrier islands and in the coastal region, we have a fairly sandy, kind of loosely packed soil that all of these plants are adapted to. So they wouldn't do well in other soil types. Another big one for the marine animals is they need salt water. They have to have some salt content in the water, not just fresh water. So they're going to be hanging out down here on the coast as well.
So why is protecting these animals so important for an ecosystem?
It is really important for us to protect all animals, reptiles and marine animals as well. For example, some animals can be really important to their ecosystem, like Thomas here, the gopher tortoise. The gopher tortoise is the state reptile of Georgia, and they're considered a keystone species. If you were to remove all of a keystone species from its ecosystem, that whole ecosystem would suffer. So nature is often in a balance. If you remove a species, it can change the ecosystem a lot. So Thomas likes to come outside and wander around a little bit. He actually really likes to dig burrows, and those homes that he builds, those big holes in the ground, a lot of other animals will live in those as well. Another animal we like to protect Out here is our marine animals, such as our marine mammal here, the North Atlantic right whale. This is the size of a newborn calf. Could you imagine seeing a full-grown North Atlantic right whale out in the wild? They're about the size of a city bus. So we really want to make sure they stick around. Their numbers are really, really low out in the wild. So us protecting them helps them survive and actually have these magnificent animals here with us.
So Corinne, tell us, you've given us all this awesome information. What is the best part of your job working at the Tidelands Nature Center?
Some of the favorite parts about my job is getting to work with all of these really unique animals that we have on the coast, including a lot of these marine species and the reptiles we work with, and learning a little bit more about them every day. And especially educating guys like you, getting to tell them a little bit about these ecosystems and take them outside in the field.
Thank you, Corinne. What an awesome job showing us around the Tidelands Nature Center at Jekyll Island. We are so proud to be a partner with you, and we appreciate all that you do for Cobb students. Now, students, we have a task. Your assignment for today, you've learned all about the coastal habitat, and it's your turn to do a little bit of research. So what you're going to do is you're going to reach out and you're going to gather information about the coastal habitat. You're going to research plants and animals, and you're going to create a brochure for your teacher that describes the plants and animals that you can find in a coastal habitat.